Hello everyone and welcome to another video where today I will be taking a look at a video. Well, actually I believe it was live streamed from Pitch Lumen's phone. So we're talking about Pitch Lumen again. Pitch Lumen has recently talked to MC Toon on Charanism's channel, which I found interesting because I have written an email to Pitch Lumen because we thought about talking for ourselves, and I don't think he has answered yet. This might just be a little bit of an misunderstanding, but still. Yeah, so let's see what he has in store for us today.
Hey everybody, this video here, I'll just try to be brief. This is just another observation or lack of observation that would support the globe. So what I have drawn here, this is Polaris in the center and then a few stars radiating outward.
Okay, so we have Polaris in the center and a couple of stars away from the center of rotation there. Well, Polaris isn't in the exact center, but like more or less in the center.
And the blue dots, these are their original positions. And then over, we'll say an hour, there's 15 degrees of observation that we see in the stars, and they all move in 15 degrees uniform.
There it is, correct. They move in unison, if you will, around the center of rotation of the rotational axis, really, of Earth, yes.
Furthest out, covering the most arc. And the parallax that I wanted to discuss here is actually a parallax that we always see any optical device. So if I go over to here and I get down, as I drift my camera, the objects in the closest, so like I have my water here, my bat bag is over there. Can I zoom? Got a bat bag.
There is a dog. I like dogs.
And then got a distant light and my roommate's dog back there. So the closer objects move faster in your field of view.
Well, yes, if you yourself are moving, parallax would predict the closer objects to move faster, of course, naturally.
Than the distant.
I'm not sure if he's on about a change of position of the viewer or if he's talking about rotation, because it seems to me like he's just tries to just turn his camera, right?
Objects, the distant objects move.
Obviously, for rotation, it would not be true. He understands it, right?
The slowest. And this is always seen. This is if you're moving along here, the further back objects hardly move, the closer objects move more. And so
that is correct, yes.
If you go back over here,
there's a cat. He does not address the cat that is literally underneath his whiteboard. Very bad. You will have points deducted for this offense to the world of cats.
You're going to see, we see 15, everything moving 15, which would be implying.
Please don't say what I think you're about to say.
That these stars are equal distant.
And there it is. Okay. So if you are on an office chair, right, and you sit and you move around and you have your computer screen in front of you, and like further in the back there's a cupboard or something, and in my room I have a whiteboard on the wall. So if I myself rotate, the screen and the whiteboard will always have the same angle in between them. That even though they are not the same distance away.
Rather than some being closer.
I made a video. I remember now. I made a video, a quick little video with my phone camera. I can show you later. Okay, so here I have the promised video. This is where I do some volunteer work on the weekends. And you can see in the back here, there's a chair. And right here is the edge of my laptop screen. Of my old laptop, actually. And you can see I will now turn my camera. And you can see that the relation of or how much you can see of the chair and my laptop screen, even though my laptop screen is like 20 centimeters away from my phone and the chair is like 4 or 5 meters away, you can clearly see that you can always see the same portion. Of course, I wasn't perfect. I was holding the phone down with one hand and rotating it with the other. This method is prone to failure. So there will be some slight movements of the phone itself, not rotation, like movement in the sense of its center of mass will have moved a tiny little bit. So you can, and I also wouldn't have kept it exactly straight, and things like that can influence it. But within reason, you can see that this is certainly not the amount of parallax we would expect if things were to behave as pitch says that they would. You can clearly see, you can always see the same portion of the chair. They rotate precisely how we would expect it, and you have all just been rickrolled, by the way. Well, at the place where I volunteer, where there's my computer screen at the front and there's a chair in the back. I will actually show you that later.
And some being further, because there's a huge difference in close stars versus the distance to far away stars.
That is correct. It can be many, many, many light years, many thousands of light years even.
And the other parallax that we do not observe in the stars.
So the first one is really what we would expect, because we are rotating, all of the stars are rotating with us. I will explain earlier why saying any different is, and I'm sorry to have to say it like that, because you seem like a nice guy in the debate, right? That's not really bright. I'm sorry.
Stars that would show in a timeline, because when we see a time lapse, we get a circle made, and it's a concentric circle. What we don't get is,
we do see a concentric circle, that is correct. Or we do see concentric circles, yes.
Throughout the night, from start to finish, there would be a shift because of our orbit around the sun.
There would be for some close stars, but it will be extremely tiny. You don't forget that we have like 360 degrees every day, right, at night, and we have only less than 1 degree every day from the orbit. Also, orbit is a motion and not rotation. There's a big difference in between those. But you do see that. We do see annular parallax of the stars. I remember off the top of my head that Proxima Centauri, I believe, is around 0.8 arc seconds over half a year. Well, so that's by how much it moves. It actually moves in the sky. We can measure that, right?
We would actually be sliding along in our orbit, and that would show in time lapse as the light is altering. So it wouldn't give us circles. We would get distorted arcs, because they're accumulating 1 degree's worth of motion from start to finish.
Well, over one night you typically won't see the whole degree, because a degree roughly is on 1 day, so you would see half that. Also, we are moving, and everything else with us, like, it's so far away that the distance there in one night, there would be something very, very difficult to measure. Especially from Earth, when you have atmospheric interference. I just out of the top of my head and what I know from astronomy, I don't think that is measurable, especially not from Earth. It might be with a space telescope, possibly. But the issue there is that the space telescope is in space and thus not exactly rotating, So,
So we don't see that either, but we see uniformity, which would imply equal distance.
No, the uniformity comes from the fact that we have a rotation. It's just how solid body rotation works. I don't know what else to tell you there, man. It's really not that difficult.
Not slow versus fast motion here.
Yeah, but you're not rotating, you're moving. I don't think you know what parallax is.
So this is the closer objects move quicker because they're covering less ground in the same amount of time. The distant objects, like you can see between the water and the bat bag especially, they're moving. One is moving much quicker than the other, covering the whole frame of view versus only part of frame of view, field of view, excuse me. So this parallax does not show in the sky, and it's optically unavoidable. So I am going to be making a video here that I want to try to show some diagrams and graphs and everything for
the cat is very cute though,
and documents, I guess, too. So this is not shown, but I just wanted to throw this in here too, just to keep it as short as possible. I'm going to be making a video about, it's kind of an accumulation.
He says here it's 1 degree solar. I don't know what he means by solar. Per 12 hours. It should rather be half a degree every 12 hours. It's 1 degree every 24 hours, roughly.
Of the work that
and it's not rotation, it's orbit, which is not the same. Somehow flat earthers struggle with that concept. Some flat earthers struggle with that concept for some reason.
I did while I was learning about nutrition. So it'll be kind
I recall the video now kind of turns into a channel update, which is not interesting for our purposes. So let's switch over to my trusty OneNote notebook. So here is the OneNote notebook as per usual, and today I will explain parallax and rotation because somehow this needs explaining. Okay, parallax, this is my definition, how I would roughly explain it, is a seeming displacement in position of an object due to a change in the position of the viewer, right? So I started here. Let's say we have position 1 is on the left here, position 2 is right here. We have some object in the middle. It's a green blob in my case, and we have a colored wall in the background. And of course, person 1 will see it in the rightmost blue strip, while person 2 would see it in the the green blob at the leftmost red wall, kind of. So nothing has moved yet. Nothing, the green blob didn't move, of course, the walls didn't move, but our observer has moved. This can actually be really useful to determine distance. You can do this with your eyes only. There's a really nice video that explains how you can do this with your thumb and just the distance of your eyes to approximate distance, and I use that in daily life sometimes, and it is actually very useful. Yeah, so that's parallax. Rotation, you have object here, you have another object here. Either the object itself turns around you or you turn around by an angle alpha. Why should it depend on the distance? Doesn't make any sense. It would be the same angular change if the object was here and here at the half line, kind of. Please think about that. I tried to make a demonstration to see what the issue is. Let's say you have a chair here and a table here, and you rotate the whole system. Either the system rotates or you rotate. If the angle between those would change, which it does here, I just drew the angle, of course the distance here is now different. If the angle here changes, those two things would not have the same distance anymore. How should that work? Imagine you sit at your desk, you rotate, and suddenly your wardrobe has moved away from your desk because you rotated. This is not how that works. We would not see parallax from rotation alone. We cannot see it. It is mind-boggling to me how I have to explain this. it's okay. What about the orbit? Couple of things to say. First of all, you have 360 degrees every day from rotation. Obviously, we agree on that. You have less than 1 degree, which is this little tiny green thing, and I think it's already more than 1 degree. Of arch covered from the orbit, which is tiny. Also, orbit and rotation are not the same thing. One is a rotation, the other is a movement. Those are not the same thing, even though flat earthers sometimes like to pretend it is. But, and this is the staggering thing, we do see parallax. Astronomers work with it all the time. It's in fact the first method we learned at university, and we did ourselves to determine the distance to a star. When you have, obviously not to scale, let's say you have the sun here, and as Earth orbits around the sun, one time the Earth will be here, the other time Earth will be here, and we see the same star, some random star, change against the background of stars that are a lot further away. Of course, these stars will also have a tiny amount of parallax, but the cool thing here, if we don't measure them as having any parallax, they are so far away that our instrument cannot pick it up, and it would not make any difference if they were close-ish and we just can't measure it, or if they are actually infinitely far away. So for calculation purposes, we can say some star moves with respect to the background, and we can measure this. I mentioned earlier in the video that for Proxima Centauri it's 0.8 arc seconds. I have written it out here. It's 0.77 arc seconds, which an arc second is 1/3600th of a degree. And I would like to have here, any flat earther, please, can you calculate the distance only from this parallax angle? I would be genuinely pleasantly surprised if any flat earther could do this. This is the parallax angle. How far is the star away from us? Just so you understand. So, this is important. Rotation does not cause or introduce parallax whatsoever. We observe a parallax from orbit. In general, parallax is observed when the observer or the viewer changes their actual position. parallax needs a position change. Otherwise, it's not observed. And with that, I hope this cleared things up for any photographers out there. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like. If you enjoyed it a lot, maybe considering subscribing. And with that, I will see you in the next video. Until then, have a nice day. Goodbye!